Hey guys, welcome back to the Everyday Home. I am sitting at my computer procrastinating. I really need to get some cranberry projects done today, and I'm just procrastinating. I don't know why. Could be the gray weather. I don't know. I just have zero motivation to get up and get my canning done. It's probably because I have a lot of other work that I want to get done, and this project is just not really on the top of my priority list, but it needs to be. You know what I do when I am in procrastination mode? I order seeds. Not good. Actually, it's okay because this year I am in the year of kind of ordering seeds. Last year, my mission was to clear out all the old seeds. So I really didn't buy very much last year and I used up a lot of my seeds. So this year's a fun year because I kind of get to reassess stuff and get some new seeds. And Baker's Creek sent out an email this morning saying, hey, if you spend $10 or more, we'll send you this free tomato seed packet. And it's a seed that looks so interesting to me. And I still had a couple more seeds that I actually had to get ordered. So I went online and ordered some seeds. I want to show you how our little seedlings are doing. I am going to turn off this light because I realize it is very difficult to see. I have my grow lights leaning like this for a reason because I have the humidity dome on this one still because a lot of those have not germinated yet. But these ones see that they're trying to reach for the light. So I want to get the light as close as possible to them. I might just end up putting those ones down here and leaving these ones up here. But look at all of our little seedies. These are all broccolis, cabbage, cauliflower, and these are all kales. Oh, I can't wait to get them in the ground. These two rows are celery seeds, and these probably will not germinate for about another week. They take a really long time to germinate. That's why you need to get them started early. And then these guys in here, those are all of my chamomile. We've got some feverfew that's come up. I don't really want to take this off, but I really do want to show you. My, and we've got some petunias coming up too. And some citronella. Oh, exciting. But look at this. Look at this roselle. I think we have eucalyptus germinating. I think it is. It's coming up like a pink color. It is. Eucalyptus is super hard to germinate because you need to actually have a cold stratification with it, which means that it needs to be in a very cold climate for 30 days before it really will germinate. So what I did when I got my eucalyptus seeds is I put them right in the freezer, and I actually left the seeds in the freezer for 3 days. After the 3 days, I soaked the seeds in some cold water for probably, I would say, 24 hours. And then I put it just surface sowed on top of here and just been watering it religiously. And it looks like it's coming up. I think that that's it right there because that is a little like a pink color. And then there's also one right there. And then there's also one right there. So exciting. This is the eucalyptus that I'm planting, just a silver dollar. Look at the little baby petunias. This is very close for you guys. Sorry. It just won't focus if it's too far away. And then look at, we've got some baby citronella. Oh, this is so exciting. I want to get this back on here. I also have a heat mat underneath here. We have been having crazy cold days. Actually, the cold days are looking like they're pretty much done right now. We're kind of getting back into our normal typical spring weather, which is usually around, I want to say like the 50 mark is what our usual winter weather is like. And we have these odd occasional weeks where we dip really low. Our driveway is cleared off last night. Our neighbor actually let us borrow his tractor and we worked until it was dark clearing the driveway. I know that in last week's video, I told you that we had this much ice. We probably had, I would say, a good solid 4 inches of just compacted ice on top of the driveway. And it's all over the yard too. Like everywhere is just ice. Well, not anymore because it's all melting. Anyways, still doing it, still procrastinating. Today, we need to do cranberries. So before I got sick, I took all my cranberries out of the freezer because I'm trying to really be focused and cleaning that freezer out because we have a beef order coming. And I know we're going to be really strapped for space in that freezer because we have quite a bit of turkey and chicken still. So I took out some of my cranberries. 6 bags to be exact. No, actually 5 bags. I put them in my fridge to defrost, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to these tomorrow because I need to get this canning project. Well, fast forward, huge storm came in. I got totally immobile because I got really, really sick. And the cranberries have now been sitting in my fridge for over a week, and they are very, very soft. They don't look like they're going bad, but they are very, very, very soft and very much need to get used. So we have 5 bags of cranberries that we need to get preserved today. Normally I like to can my cranberries like this. This is the cranberry juice where you just put the cranberries in, put water in, put a little bit of sugar in if you want, and then you just let it sit for about 6 weeks. I have a good stockpile of that. We don't drink it a lot. But one thing that I have found with doing it this way is that it is almost a cranberry extract because you're trying to extract the juice out of the cranberries by doing it this way. And it's not a very strong cranberry. I mean, it is strong cranberry taste, but it's not like really, really potent. So I think I'm going to try a different way of canning cranberry juice. Also, we did a lot of just regular cranberry sauce, so I don't need to do any of that. I don't eat a lot of cranberry sauce, so that amount is good for us for the year. But I think I'm going to attempt to make the cranberry juice that is in this cookbook. I always avoid making it this way because it is a very time-consuming thing. It doesn't take very long to actually prepare, but it just takes a really, really long time to drain. You have to put it in some cheesecloth and literally drain it for almost 24 hours. This book says at least 2 hours, and then I referenced another canning book and it actually says to let it drain for 24 hours. So I'm going to get started with that project today. I'm going to probably do about 3/4 of these in that juice because I would like to see if that juice tastes any better and see if we like it anymore, because I love having cranberry juice on top of just a plain sparkling water. It's delicious. Plus, cranberry juice is really, really good for you in general. I was trying to find some other cranberry recipes because I'm like, I just don't want to do all cranberry juice because it's such a time-consuming thing. I just kind of want to be able to do a quick project with it. So I got this cookbook out. I'm trying to find where it was. It was 213. Yes, 213 in this cookbook or canning book. We are going to attempt to make a cranberry orange chutney. I think in Azure haul that I did a couple months ago, I was mentioning to you guys that I love orange marmalade and I love lemon marmalade, but I'm not making it this year because I don't want to stress myself out by having a huge, 25-pound bag of lemons that I had to get done. And I'm so glad I didn't, because as I said in that video, it's just not my season to be experimenting making marmalade for the first time. So I find that marmalade and chutneys are very, very similar. I don't think they are, but in my brain I think they are because they both have zest in them. I don't know. I don't know how that works in my head. Anyways, we're going to attempt to make a chutney today with these cranberries and using some orange because oranges are on sale right now. I was actually able to go and get a bag of oranges before we even started this pantry challenge, and we have some oranges to get used. We're actually not even going to use this cookbook because this chutney in here has 1.5 cups of brown sugar. No, 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 no. I am not doing that. That would make the chutney almost a sugar taste and not really like the cranberry orange taste. So we are going to improvise and we are going to use honey instead. The sugar in this recipe is not what makes it canning safe. It's actually the vinegar that they use in the recipe that makes the acidity safe to can. So we are going to swap out a couple of the ingredients. If you guys want the OG recipe that kind of gave me inspiration, it is in this cookbook. I just want to preference that this is not a tested canning recipe for this chutney. This is a recipe that I'm kind of using different things, but I know that it is going to be canning safe because of the acidity level in this. So here is your disclaimer for the video. Do your own research. If you're not comfortable with this, there is a cookbook that I have left referenced for you guys where you can do the tested recipe. So there's the disclaimer for the video. I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to mention do your own research because I feel like a broken record every time I have to say that. Let's get started getting these cranberries ready. This recipe in here for the cranberry juice says to use 2.5 pounds. And I think each bag is 12 ounces. Is it 12 ounces? Yes, 12 ounces. And there are 16 ounces in a pound. We'll just weigh it out, make sure we have the exact amount. One thing with canning is I am pretty particular with the actual measurements because I like to make sure that everything is as the recipe is. And I am going to eventually get an apron on because I don't want to be covered in cranberries. I think the mushy ones will be better for the juice because they're already mushy. So for the chutney recipe, we need 12 ounces of cranberries, so just one bag of cranberries. So I'm going to keep one bag, but we need to add 4 more ounces to here. It's a little bit over. I'm kind of picking some bad ones out of here that I can see. A really big strainer. Love this strainer. Found this at an antique market, and it is probably now my favorite thing for canning. Handles big loads very well. We're just going to rinse these and we're going to pick out any of the cranberries that are really not good. Use our really big pot. We'll get these cranberries put into here. This is definitely an excessive sized pot. I do not need a pot this big. I want to keep my medium-sized pot for making the chutney in, so we're going to use this one. So to this, we need to add 8 cups of water. And then we need to bring this to a boil. So I think what I will end up doing is wait for these to finish doing their boiling and sitting. And when we strain these, because again, they have to strain for about 2 to 4 hours, we will get started on our chutney. Or what we could do now is just maybe gather our ingredients for our chutney while these are coming to a boil. Now, I did weigh the cranberries because I had about a pack and a half. So in total, I had 1 pound, 4 ounces of cranberries. So I am gonna adjust my recipe to take into the consideration of that, but the recipe that I'm going to leave linked for you guys below will be using 1 bag of cranberries, so 12-ounce bag of cranberries, 2 medium oranges. I'm going to wash these really, really good because we are using the zest from these oranges. So we need the juice and the zest. Then we need some honey, we need onion. Now this recipe calls for raisins, but you can use dates if you don't have raisins. I am going to use golden raisins for this recipe because look at how many we have. We have a lot of golden raisins. I love snacking on raisins, so I always keep a good stock of them. We need to go into the back pantry and get an onion. I normally would use my frozen onions in this to speed up the process, but I'm trying to save onions back here. See, they're sprouting. We are going to use this one because it's sprouted. Hopefully it's still good. Maybe, oh, this one's also sprouted. Okay, maybe the combination of these will equal 1 onion because they're both sprouting. We might not be able to get the whole onion. I'm going to get my water bath canner full and I'm going to get my jars out for the chutney. I think we're going to do the chutney in some half pints. I think it's going to be more like a charcuterie board, like having it maybe on like sourdough bread type of thing. I don't think it'll be something that I'll need a really big serving of. Like it'll just be nice for snacking. I could even have this with my breakfast, just on the side. So I'm going to get these jars in here. I want to see what it says. It says it makes 8. Oh, you guys can't see me. There we go. It says it makes 8 half-pint jars. I have 12 in there. We probably won't get 12, but I always like to boil a little bit more jars than I think I might need. That way, if I do need the jars, I don't have to worry about reheating jars. They're already been heated up, and then it's fine if I don't use them all. That is not even close to being boiling yet. Okay, and I guess what we'll do right now then is we might as well just pre-prep all of our ingredients. That way we can just dump it all in the saucepan as soon as these are off of the stovetop. So we already have our cranberries rinsed and measured out. So I'm just going to get one of these onions chopped up. Should probably 2 of these onions because this one is not the best. So we won't use this whole onion. And we want to have at least 1 small onion worth in this. But I'm taking out the majority of this onion because it's not very good. Whenever you're doing a canning project, you really want to make sure that you are using somewhat good produce It doesn't have to be like perfect. It can definitely be like ugly produce, but you don't want to use moldy produce because you are canning. Some stuff is savable, but just make sure that you're not using moldy stuff. I can hear these popping now. They are now starting to pop and boil. So we are going to set the timer for 5 minutes. You want most of these cranberries to have popped so that all the juice can get extracted from them. So we are going to finely dice this onion up. I don't want to have big, huge chunks of onion in it. I have a big stainless steel bowl. I have a fine mesh strainer, and I have some muslin cloth. You could use cheesecloth for this as well. It does say to do at least a couple thick layers of cheesecloth. I'm going to get this put over top of here so that when those cranberries are done, I can just strain them into here, and then I will leave this like this for about 4 hours, and they can slowly drip into here. Now it does say to use a jelly bag and like hang a jelly bag and then let the cranberry juice drop into a bowl, but I don't have a jelly bowl, so this is what I'm going to use instead. Or not a jelly bowl, a jelly bag. I do not have a jelly bag. I'm thinking this is probably way too much onion. I might put some of this in my fridge to use for supper tonight. This is the pile of onion that I have. I'm probably only going to use maybe 3/4 of it. Maybe not even, maybe half. Okay, our 5-minute timer went off. I'm just checking to make sure that a lot of these berries have kind of bursted already. I think they have. I bought a whole bunch of cranberries when they were on sale right after Thanksgiving. I think I got them for like 50 cents a bag, and I just threw them in my freezer, and then it was cleaning my freezer out mode. Turn the element off and get these put into here. Oh, I'm not wearing my apron. I'm not wearing my apron. Oh no. Okay, let me take my apron on. I also had to take my sweater off because I was overheating. When I'm doing canning projects, it heats the house up really nice. That's what they look like in there. So we're just gonna leave these sit for 4 hours. Cover them up a little bit. That's what the juice looks like. Just gonna clean this off a little bit because that did splash all over my cabinets everywhere. Little messy. And then we're just gonna set this aside. So both of the recipes that we're doing today are water bath canning recipes. If you do not have a water bath canner, you can actually use a really, really big heavy bottom stock pot, and you can turn this into a water bath canner. What you do is you just put something on the bottom of the pan. So you could even use like a tea towel and just put it on the bottom of the pan and then put your jars on top of that. You could also use canning rings on the bottom. What you're trying to do is you want to make sure that the jars are actually not touching the bottom of the pot. So in my water bath canner that I'm using, which we're just going to get put onto the stovetop right now, and for all you seasoned canners, this is just, obviously you know this, but this is more for the new canners. I have a little thing that I can just lift my jars with, and that keeps the jars from touching the bottom of the pot. I'm going to get this turned onto a really low heat and get those jars heated up. You guys just took a tumble off of the table I have you sitting on, so I'm hoping that this turns out fine. Okay, so we're just putting all of our ingredients in here. So the next thing we need to do is get our oranges prepped. So we're going to use 2 oranges for this. You want to use the zest and the juice. So we are going to actually zest these oranges first, and then we'll juice them. And if you really want a strong orange taste, do 3 oranges for zest. You could even probably add a little bit of orange extract in this as well. It would boost the orange flavor. And I'm trying just to get the zest and not this under part on it because that would make it very, very bitter. You don't want the rind. You just want the zest. And like I said, I wash these really, really good because I am using the zest in this. And then we will get our oranges put into here, our orange juice. One thing that actually just popped into my head, and I want to tell you guys before I lose the frame of thought, this cranberry juice, it is not going to produce the same amount of cranberry juice as if I were to do it my regular way that I do it. This is definitely a more concentrated version of it. I am only experimenting with this because, like I said, I got those bags for 50 cents and they were already going bad. So that's why I'm experimenting with this particular way of doing it. But definitely, if you want to get more for your money, that other way that I do my cranberry juice is definitely more economical. You can make one bag, one 12-ounce bag of cranberries stretch to probably 4 or 5 quarts. Whereas doing this way, I'm probably only going to get 2, potentially maybe 3 quarts. So just keep that in mind, that the only reason I'm experimenting with this is because, again, my cranberries were going bad and I got them really, really cheap. I just wanted to tell you guys that because otherwise I would have forgotten about it and I probably would have seen it in the comments somewhere and realized I was going to say that. Okay, back to this. We need 1/3 cup of raisins. You can use whatever raisins you'd like. I'm just using a golden raisin because I think this will go really well with this flavor profile, but you can use dates if you want in this. All right, and then we're gonna add some cinnamon, and we're gonna add about 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. The spices do not change the acidity level. So you are okay. If you want to use a little bit more cinnamon, you can. If you want to use a little less, you can. These are not what makes the recipe canning safe. These are just the flavor enhancers. So I'm going to use a pinch of allspice. If you don't have allspice, you can use cloves as well. I might do 2 pinches of it. I just find that cloves are a really strong, strong taste, and I don't want that in this. So that's why I'm going to use the allspice. And then we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, and then 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we are going to use 2/3 of honey. You can use 1/2 cup of honey. You can use a full cup of honey. And then here is the thing that you have to make sure you are using is your vinegar. For this recipe, we are going to use an apple cider vinegar. This is not homemade. This is store-bought, and this is a 5% acidity. So this is what I'm going to use in this. In this recipe, make sure your vinegar runs at 5% acidity. So we're going to put in 1 cup. Okay, there's all our ingredients. I'm just going to mix them in this bowl and then we'll add it to a stock pot and get these on the stovetop. We're going to use a very heavy bottom stock pot. And let's add all of these ingredients into the stock pot now. We're going to bring this up to a boil. So I'm going to turn it on about a medium-high heat. Stir all the ingredients together. Again, we have our jars warming up over here. Oh, we need to add water in here. I forgot. We need to add 1/2 cup of water in that. Okay, let's bring that up to a boil. Cranberries are actually really high in natural pectin. That's why you don't have to add any pectin to this recipe. That's why the sugar really doesn't matter, because you're not adding a thickening agent to this, because the cranberries are just going to do that themselves. If you like more sweeter of a chutney, definitely add more honey to this. Now, like I said, the original recipe does call for brown sugar. So if you use like a brown sugar alternative like stevia, or you probably even use like monk fruit or something in this as well, just a brown sugar replacement. But I love honey, and I think honey will really go well with the orange and the cranberry. That's why I'm excited to try doing it with this. We have a boil now, so I'm going to turn the heat down to a low heat, and we are going to simmer these for about 35 minutes. We want all of these cranberries to burst and get nice and chunky in here. I'm going to just keep stirring it until it goes down to a simmer. There's actually another little baking project that I want to get done, but I need to wait until I have the stovetop to do that. We'll just get all of our ingredients ready to go onto the stovetop. So one thing that I love having in the freezer, and this is kind of a little sweet treat for me, is I love brownies. I really, really love brownies, and I found a amazing brownie out of this cookbook. So I'm going to get some prepped. I like to make a big tray of the brownies, and then I actually cut them into really small pieces and then just individually wrap them and put them in the freezer. And then when I'm feeling like a brownie, I can just get it out of the freezer and have just one little individual piece. It's kind of like portion control for me, but it still gives me the ability to have a little sweet treat without having to make something. So I had a little bit of soft white wheat in the freezer, so we're going to use that. I need to get some chocolate chips out. The reason this recipe is amazing is because it's a brown butter brownie. So, so amazing. I can't recommend this one enough. It is just delicious. And it's nice and chewy. So I'm gonna get 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate as well if you like. You don't need to use the semi-sweet. Right, so we have 320 grams of brown sugar. This looks like more than 1.5 cups. That is why I really, really love using weight measurements when it comes to doing baking, because if you're doing like 1.5 cups of brown sugar, you may not be packing it the same way the recipe developer did, and your recipe may turn out way different than what the recipe was intended to. I prefer using weights, especially with baking, because that way I know that I can get it pretty spot on to what the developer had in mind. What looks to be like more than 1.5 cups of brown sugar, but it's 320 grams. Right, and for flour, I already have this pre-measured out. We need 180 grams of flour, and I'm just using a soft white wheat flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then half a teaspoon of salt. This is just a pink Himalayan salt. That's why it looks pink. And then we need 13 grams of cocoa powder. Oh, I better tear this. All right, I'm gonna get this off because it is starting to evaporate a lot of the liquid, and all of these cranberries look like they burst. We are definitely not gonna use all of these jars, for sure. Let's get this chutney ladled into here, and we're gonna leave 1/2 inch of headspace. I think I'm only gonna get maybe 4 half pints. Recipe said we should get about 8. I'm just gonna debubble quickly because I know I need to add a little bit more to some of these. So we got 5, we didn't get 8. That's perfectly fine. There is a little bit left in here. So I'm gonna put this in a little container and put this in the fridge so that I can sample it. Okay, I have a clean rag. We're just gonna wipe the top. Make sure there's no sticky stuff on the top of it. Then we'll get our lids on. Then we'll get our rings on to fingertip tight. My countertop canner would have been amazing for this because this is a small batch, but I didn't know ahead of time. So we're gonna put these into our water bath canner. I might need to top this up with a little bit more water. They need to be covered by at least 1 to 2 inches of water. The lid on and bring this up to temperature. We are gonna water bath candies for 10 minutes because of my altitude. Refer to that cookbook or Google if you wanna find out how long you need to do it for your altitude. I'm gonna taste this and see. I'm pretty sure it'll be better once it sits for a little bit, but let's just give it a taste now. That is really, really good. It is a jam. It really does taste like a jam. It's very sweet and very tart. That orange definitely comes through in the raisins. You get a little bit of the raisins in there. That's really, really good. But I'm thinking this would also be delicious if you put this on a chicken or maybe even pork. It would be really good with something savory. But definitely some cream cheese and crusty bread. Oh, yum, 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 yum. I may just eat this whole bowl right now. Not a good idea. I'm gonna get these washed and cleaned up and put away, and then we'll move to the brownies. I don't like leaving a sink full of dirty dishes while I'm starting a new project. I'm just very OCD. OCD is the word for it. I'm very OCD, and I like to make sure that I have a clean surface before I start a brand new project. Yeah, so let's get this cleaned up, and then we'll get the brownies started. I ate the whole bowl. I ate the whole bowl. That is delicious. Okay, brownie time. So I have 1 stick of butter or 1/2 cup of butter, and we are gonna get this browned. So I'm gonna put it in a saucepan, and we are gonna put it on about medium-low heat because you don't wanna burn the butter, you just wanna brown it. And that butter is not room temperature. I just took it out of the fridge maybe 15 minutes ago. So what you want to do next is grease a 9x13 pan. I'm actually not going to grease it. I'm going to use parchment paper, and I'm doing this because it makes it so much easier to lift the brownies out and cut them. You don't have to do this. You can definitely just grease the brownie pan. Not quite up to a rolling boil. You want it to be a pretty aggressive boil before you start your timer. Butter's melted. We're just going to get to the point of browning it now. See how it's foaming? It'll do that, and then it will kind of calm down, and then it will foam again, and then it will brown. This finally came to a rolling boil, so I set the timer for 10 minutes. It's starting to go brown. It's hard to see the brown because of the foam, but it looks almost like a caramel color. So we're going to take it off the heat now, and then we are going to add our brown sugar. Now she does say that it will look a little grainy, and it does look a little grainy. It's almost like the milk separates from the sugar, but you just got to trust the process. We'll stir in this brown sugar. This is a lot of sugar, a lot of sugar. That is why I do portion control with these. But it is so worth it. These things are so delicious. Just trying to make sure that the brown sugar is completely coated in that butter. And then now we want to add in our chocolate chips, and we're going to stir these until they're melted. That butter is so hot that it will melt the chocolate chips really quickly. See how the chocolate chips are all melted? Now this is very, very hot. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we cool this down to at least 130 degrees before we add it to our brownie mix. Because if we put this in with eggs, we will get scrambled eggs. So we don't want to do that. So we are going to wait until this cools down a little bit, and then we'll add it to our ingredients. If you are milling your flour, this is a great time to mill your flour now. Once it cools down just a little bit more, I'll actually put it in my fridge and let it cool down in my fridge because it speeds up the process. But I just checked on our cranberry juice, and this stuff is thick, dark cranberry juice. Very concentrated. Like it's almost like a syrup. So I'm thinking that when I want to make that cranberry juice, I can take that cranberry juice and probably cut it like with maybe 2 to 3 times the amount of juice with water. I know I'm probably only going to get about 2 quarts of that juice, but it is so thick and concentrated that it will probably go a little bit more than just those quarts. I'll be able to make it stretch. All done. Okay, we're going to take the lid off and let that rest for 5 minutes before we take those out. It's been 5 minutes. Here they are. Excited, excited, excited. We're going to leave our water bath canner out because we do need to use that for our cranberry juice later on. So that sugar mixture is not cooled down enough. I'm going to make a quick lunch for myself, just some leftovers from last night. We had fish tacos last night, or fish tostitos. I was going to make fish tacos, but I accidentally overcooked the tortillas, made them almost a chip. So we had tostadas, fish tostadas. So I'm going to have some leftovers today for lunch, and then hopefully by the time I'm finished my lunch, this will be cooled down and we can get the brownies in the oven. Lunch is done. Let's get these brownies done. We need to preheat our oven to 350. This is definitely chilled now. It's starting to get hard because my house is freezing. Okay, we're gonna put our butter and sugar mixture in here, and then we're gonna take our eggs. We're gonna put our eggs in here. I am going to individually crack these eggs into here because I don't want to get a bad egg and wreck this. And then we need to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I really don't measure vanilla. It's a hard thing. We're going to whisk it. I'm just going to whisk this first. These are our cocoa powder, our flour, our baking powder, and our salt. Now let's whisk this. It does say to put this in a stand mixer, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to over mix it. Brownies are very, very picky with over mixing. If you over mix your brownies, you can get a cake-like brownie, and I don't like that. I like the chewy brownie, like almost the undercooked brownie. So I'm just going to use a whisk, and I'm going to hand beat this just to make sure that we don't over mix it. Get an arm workout. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients into there. And I'm going to mix this until it is just combined. If you want, you can add walnuts into here. You can add white chocolate chips. You can add anything at all into here. If you're wanting to add something extra, you're going to add it in at this point before we put it into the pan. We'll just stick to the plain ones. So I have my lined 9 by 13 dish. I'm using a 9 by 13 so that they're nice and thin. We're gonna add our batter in. I'm gonna get a spatula so that I can get all of the batter out. And we're gonna spread it on our parchment paper. Put a nice layer of the brownie mix on the pan. Last time I made these brownies, Steven said to me, these things are rich. You know what they remind me of? I think it's Little Debbie, the cosmic brownies. These things taste exactly like it. Well, mind you, I haven't had one in I don't know how many years, so I don't know how well my comparison is, but these things taste amazing. You could even put some little sprinkles on top of them and it would make them like a freshly milled version of cosmic brownie. Okay, I'm in the process of getting brownies in the oven, and Steven sends me this video.
Look at these little guys. So how old are they? They were born the Monday of all the ice. Oh my gosh. So you get a half old? This one's so calm.
This is actually one of our friends where we ended up getting our male rabbit from. She has a little bit of a hobby farm. Anyway, Steven was saying that the mama goat is not producing milk, so they have to bring the goats with them to work and feed them. This is one of Steven's coworkers. That is not safe sending me those videos. Not safe. And he knows that. He is well aware of how unsafe that is. Because I have been telling him that I want goats. I want some goats so that they can eat down the pasture and we don't have to worry about mowing it. But that might have just been his demise. We might be getting goats. No, I don't think we're getting goats, but yeah, it's like he torments me with these videos because he knows. So we need to cook these for 30 minutes at the bare minimum. I have actually found that when I cooked them for 30 minutes, they were not done. They were still jiggly in the center. So I actually ended up cooking these, I think, for almost 40 minutes last time. But we'll double check. We'll just set the timer for 30 minutes. Also, if you're making the cosmic brownies, I would put the sprinkles on when the brownies come out of the oven versus before, because I don't think you'd want to cook them on. I don't know. Maybe you could. I'm not sure. Let's get them in the oven. So I want to get this cranberry juice made. It is so thick. It is like almost a syrup. And I tasted a little bit and it is super tart. So we are going to add some sugar to this. You do not need to add sugar at all. You can just leave it plain and then maybe add sugar when you're like actually making it. But I want to cook the sugar in with it. So it is going to make it a very thick concentrate. We probably have about 7 cups because I think some of that water evaporated because we started with 8 cups. I guess we'll add the sugar and then just taste as we go along. So this is the concentrate. We're going to add the concentrate to the bowl or to a heavy bottom stock pot. Look at how thick it is. It's very thick. This is a very concentrated version. It's almost like a jelly. Again, those cranberries got that pectin in them. Okay, let's get this onto the stove top. So I am thinking that I am going to start with maybe 1.5 cups of sugar and we'll just try it from there. I'm going to get this turned on to a medium-high heat. And add that sugar in. When I'm doing my quart-sized jars, I usually add about a 1/4 cup of sugar to those jars. So this is maybe more sugar. I don't know. So we need to get this temperature to 190 degrees. You do not want to boil it. So I have this on a medium-high heat. And it says you want to keep this juice at 190 degrees for 5 minutes. And then we're going to can it. So in the canner, I have 3 quart-sized jars getting warm so that the juice will be ready to go right into those hot jars because this juice will be very hot. I'm just making sure that all of that sugar is getting dissolved in here. It's already at 100 degrees, so we just want to really make sure we're not bringing this to a boil. It's going to be hard with my electric range because it just goes hot so quickly. Okay, the timer went off for the brownies. Let's give those a check. Nope, they're not done yet. You see how they're wobbling still? I'm going to put them back in for another 10 minutes. I like my brownies to be a little bit raw, but that's like still better. The other thing I'm debating with this juice is actually putting them into pint-sized jars instead of quarts, because I think when I make this juice, I'm gonna dump a pint in and then do a pint of water. The amount of sugar I put in there is perfect. It's still tart, but it definitely has the sweetness from the sugar. So I think I'm gonna take these quart-sized jars out and go and get some pints. I think that's a better idea. Okay, so we are now at 180 or 190. So I'm gonna set the timer for, what did it say, 5 minutes? Said for 5 minutes. Turned it down because I don't want it to get to a boil. I can feel it kind of sticking to the bottom of the pan. That was our timer for our brownies that I just erased. I can actually smell the brownies too. Let's double check the brownies again. Okay, that's good. They are done. So you want to let these brownies cool a lot before you cut them. I have found that that is the best way to keep a brownie gooey. If you cut it beforehand, it just doesn't have time to completely finish cooking. So we'll just leave those cool before we cut them up. Timer's up. Let's get this off the heat. Hopefully our jars are warm enough. I think they should be. And then we're going to leave a 1/4 inch headspace. So we didn't have quite enough to fill this one, so I'm going to put this in the fridge and we can have this tonight with our supper. But I'm going to clean the tops of these and make sure there's no stickiness on them. Put our lid and rings on to fingertip tight. And then we'll get these put into here. And then bring this up to a boil. We are going to can both pints and quarts for 15 minutes. So once this gets up to that rolling boil, we'll start the timer for the 15 minutes, and then that is our cranberry juice. So out of those cranberries that were going bad in my fridge, we got 2 cranberry products. We got our chutney, then we got some really thick, delicious cranberry concentrate, and then we made brownies for the freezer. So win for saving food today. I love finishing canning projects. During the process, I'm just like, oh, you know, sometimes it's a little time consuming, especially when you have to wait 4 hours for them to drain. But when it's done and I get to put them on the canning shelf, that's my happy time. I love it. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give that chutney a try. Delicious. I mean, if you don't like cranberries, then obviously you're not going to like it, but it's really, really good. If you do like cranberries, definitely try it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, guys. So I wanted to come back and show you guys what the brownies look like when they were cooled. Now, I did not let these cool long enough. I wanted to get to bed that night and just wanted to get them put into the freezer before I went to bed. And definitely I noticed that as soon as I started cutting them, you can see right here, they're all breaking apart. And that's an indication that they were not cooled enough, because last time I made these, this did not happen. And I let them cool for probably about 6 hours last time. So that's preferred time for cooling the brownies. But anyways, I just carried on and cut them. They still tasted amazing. Like, I cannot recommend this brownie recipe enough. So I'm going to individually wrap all of the brownies. I know it is a lot of plastic and I do not like using this much plastic, but I have found that with these, if I just put them into the Ziploc baggie without doing this, they get freezer burn. And not only that, but it is so much easier just to take these brownies just out of the bag. If Steven wants to take them for lunch, he can just take 1 or 2 out. If I'm going on a day trip, I can just grab a couple brownies and just throw them in my purse and go. So it's just the individual packing makes them more of a convenience for us. Here's that cranberry juice coming out of the canner. This stuff I cannot recommend enough. Today was definitely a win with all of our recipes. I had this stuff for supper that night and it was great. So thanks again, guys, for watching.